This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, proposed changes to freedom camping rules may help or hinder camping enthusiasts. Vandalism hits at a local scout group and now the clean-up begins. And a sad and twisted tale about Otago's notorious past is set to music and it comes to the stage. A very good evening. I'm Craig Story. Local rules around freedom camping are being reviewed following widespread public frustration. The City Council is considering a more restrictive camping bylaw to curb associated problems, but not everyone's happy with proposed changes.
City councillors are taking public opinion on board to shape new rules for freedom camping. David Benson Pope and fellow subcommittee members are wading through 50 public submissions received on the issue. The council intends to restrict camping to protect public areas, particularly along the peninsula. But the plan has its critics.
The real solution to the problem is to allow them to stay overnight places where there's a toilet, anywhere where there's a toilet just about, because otherwise you get them hiding away in the bushes and the sand dunes and making their mess in those sort of places. So removing them from the likes of McAndrew Bay is just making the problem somebody else's problem.
Barnes wants the current camping policy retained with an amendment to restrict the number of camper vans allowed at any one site. He says the proposal to completely ban freedom camping on the peninsula is illogical.
You have to recognise that the camper vans are here whether we like them or not, so I think it's important to have good management of the effects that they create rather than trying to just pretend that they're not going to be there, because the current draft bylaw tries to do that and sweeps them under the carpet.
Most submitters support the new bylaw, which follows an unpopular 2-year freedom camping trial. Widespread opposition to the trial was led by McAndrew Bay residents, fed up with overcrowding, rubbish dumping and the misuse of public amenities. Things witnessed firsthand by resident David Goodman, who wants camping restricted.
A small minority of the freedom campers actually ruin it for the rest of the freedom campers, and that's basically why I've submitted to. I'm in favour of the existing or the proposed bylaw, because it excludes McAndrew Bay at all levels.
His stance is similar to that of 20 other submitters. 11 oppose the plan, while 18 are neutral. The full council is set to consider the bylaw later this year. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
The government's praising hospitals for achieving emergency department targets, while wards are overflowing in Dunedin. Health Minister Jonathan Coleman's released the latest quarterly targets for district health boards. He claims success for emergency department wait times across the board, with targets met over the last 2 quarters. At the Southern DHB, 94% of patients were admitted, transferred or discharged from the emergency department within 6 hours. But that still places Southern behind almost all other DHBs. Yesterday, Dunedin Hospital was officially overcrowded at 103% capacity. Patients are waiting in corridors and elective surgeries are being postponed. Almost 200 patients presented in a single day last week, setting a new record. Scouts are paying the price for ongoing vandalism at a local camp. An old native tree at Waiora Scout Camp has been cut down, and in the latest incident of willful damage on site. And now camp staff are taking action.
Nestled deep in the hills surrounding Dunedin is a home away from home for local scouts. Youth from around the region attend Waiora Scout Camp throughout the year to enjoy everything nature offers. But the remote location is attracting vandals, and staff say the cutting down of a 50-year-old native tree is the last straw.
All the people on the campsite committee are very tuned into the campsite, if you like. They're quite dedicated, quite committed, and when we have to deal with issues like that, it draws resources away from other things that we want to try and achieve at the campsite.
A caretaker discovered the destruction a couple of weeks ago, and staff have been searching for answers ever since. It follows other recent cases of vandalism, with trees knocked down and a fence damaged. As staff were being interviewed by 39 Dunedin News, they also found someone had dumped a pile of rubbish, and now they're taking action.
The best that we can do is put the information out to our scout groups, ask them to keep their ears open as to whether or not they've heard of anything like this happening out here. We will report the issue to the police, but of course, they can't be everywhere as well.
Incidents of vandalism have become more frequent since the start of a new building project. 40 beds are being added to the camp, an exciting development soured by petty crime.
We're at the stage now that we've got consent to go ahead based on our plans. We're now just working through a process of developing what we're going to like to have in there, put it out to tender, and we're looking for funding, of course.
McRae says there's massive community support for the camp, with volunteers ensuring scouts have the time of their lives. And he hopes that support helps bring vandals to justice, once and for all. David DeLorean, 39 Dunedin News.
King's High School has cut a deal with the Ministry of Education over its increasing school roll. The schools agreed to cap pupil numbers at 1,035. That leaves space for about 10 more children than those currently enrolled. The school rejected government orders to implement a zoning system threatening legal action against the ministry. King's is the biggest secondary school in Dunedin and in the wider region. It will implement an enrolment scheme from 2017 unless the cap on pupil numbers is reached sooner. The ministry wants to see other local classes filled. King's staff say the school shouldn't be penalised for its success. A dark chapter in Dunedin's history is inspiring a musical production. It's about the fatal fire at the Seacliff Mental Hospital, which killed 37 women. And getting the story to stage has taken almost a decade.
New Zealand's Got Talent winner Renee Maurice is no stranger to the stage. But for her latest project, she's behind the scenes, directing a musical based on the fatal Seacliff fire of 1942. She's not from Dunedin, but says the local story stood out to her, and she wants to share it with as many people as possible.
I was quite awestruck by the topic, and I even went to my history teacher and I said to him, "What do you know about this?" And he said he knew nothing. And I thought that was a real travesty. So I set out to sort of expose this long, hushed-up secret.
Maurice began writing the musical 9 years ago, visiting the city to research the fire as well as 1940s mental health practices. And with the story a local one, she says Dunedin's an obvious place to stage the production.
I feel like the story belongs to Otago, and I wanted to honour the victims and their families by bringing it back home first before I went anywhere else. But I do hope that if it's successful down here, I'll be able to continue it in other places as well.
After countless song rewrites and casting calls, Maurice says it's great to see the musical finally come together, something that wouldn't have been possible without the substantial community support she's received.
We've had a crowdfunding venture which has gone really successfully. We've managed to raise $15,000 through Boosted. And so, yeah, it's all very, very exciting. It's all go at the moment.
Rehearsals are underway, for which Maurice makes a fortnightly Wellington-Dunedin commute, and she plans to stay in the city for the play's full performance run in December. Ruby McAndrew, 39 Dunedin News.
That'll be great, I'm in it. Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, significant help comes to the aid of those with a learning difficulty and the world markets, currency and exchange rates.
Oh, lifestyler can be anybody. We look at a lifestyler as someone who perhaps has been a farmer and is retiring into a smaller block. It could be someone who's working here in Dunedin and has a few acres at home. It could be mum and the kids with the pony on an acre. It's anyone that's got a little bit of land rather than just the quarter-acre section.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
Big Orange, for all your movies, records, books and games. Pre-loved needs and vinyl records, 45s, DVDs. A South Dunedin family-owned business for over 15 years. Check us out on Facebook, opposite Westpac on the sunny side of King Edward Street.
Discover New Zealand's most innovative museum, Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. 14 stunning galleries, 3 distinct architectural styles, and 1 million intriguing stories are yours to discover at Toitu Otago Settlers Museum. Open daily next to Dunedin Railway Station and with free admission. Toitu Otago Settlers Museum.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
128 tracks, dynamic automation, dual faders, and totally digital. This is state-of-the-art music production. The SSL digital console. You'll find one in the BBC studios in London, another at CBS studios in New York, and now one at the University of Otago. It's a good reason why our sound now sounds even better. My name is Maddie Parkins Craig, and this is my place in the world.
Take your place in the world.
Hedges are something we almost take for granted. A good hedge needs regular maintenance to look its best and to add value and character to your property. For all your hedge care needs, call the team at SGC Services on 0800 783 453.
Hi, I'm Mike Kernahan, Chief Executive of the Cancer Society Otago and Southland Division. On 28th of August, we celebrate 25 years of Daffodil Day. Daffodil Day helps us provide care, comfort and hope to people who have a cancer diagnosis and their families. It helps us run health promotion programs so there might be less cancer in the future, and it funds vital cancer research. So please give generously this Daffodil Day. Text HOPE to 469 to donate $3 or visit daffodilday.org.nz and help us make this Daffodil Day the biggest and best yet.
Almost 100 first home buyers in Dunedin are making the most of a new government funding scheme. Since the Home Start program was launched in April, the government's received 89 applications from within Dunedin. Of those, 75 have been paid out. Home Start replaces the KiwiSaver First Home Deposit Subsidy. It allows first home buyers to apply for grants of up to $20,000, and nationwide 7,000 applications have been lodged, with just over $7 million paid out. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. Interesting day, very small market move on the NZX and the same on the ASX. Dow Jones and the FTSE and the Nikkei, pay attention to what's happening over there. And on the currency, a fairly good day floating across all of the currencies, which we observe a 0.895, 8975 against the yen, and small movements in the euro and the pound and the US dollar, and the Kiwi cohabiting quite well at 64.94. A local woman is developing an app to help children, to help them learn to read and write. Shelley McMeekin is one of 3 grant recipients through the Gig Start Fund, and she joins us in the studio to discuss the project. Good evening, Shelley. Thank you so very much for coming.
Pleasure.
And, we were talking off camera, and this is a really exciting project. Would you like to bring us up to speed?
Okay. Well, what our app will look like, it's called Read, Write, Spell, Write, and it's going to be a series of 200 claymation videos that, with narration, are going to help children to not only know how to spell a word and how to say a word, how to pronounce it, but it's going to add the additional element of meaning. Now, the words I'm talking about here are those little words like is, it, and the.
Those cell-safe words. incredibly important sellotape words that
That's
allow
what you call them,
us
sellotape. Yes, well, if you go into a classroom of, if you're 5 and 6, 7-year-olds, around the room you'll see posters, and the poster will be the tricky words, and it's all of those words. Now, those words also, they make up the first 5 or 6 levels of the essential spelling list. And in fact, the first 3 levels of the spelling list, there's 60 words in that, and 57 of these words are the ones I'm talking about. Right. They don't have an easy picture.
Right, so this is an app, and it's going to come to a mobile device.
Yes.
What's the state of the app now? How is it being developed and being distributed?
Okay, well, it's still in development.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just doing up storyboards at the moment.
Right. How soon do you think it'll be available? Will it be available outside Dunedin once it's perfected here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're going to, it should be available a prototype for the next school year, and then we can roll it out nationwide, and looking then to Australia, globally. World's our oyster, really.
This is a very interesting project. Again, off camera, you were saying that there were significant developments and significant improvements in general readers by using the program that the app is going to be based on, and taking people from a standard level of reading to a greater level. Tell us how that works.
Yeah. Well, this isn't something that we've just, we've just thought will help. There was a study done in the US using the program that this app is based on. Now, of those children that took part in the pilot program, there was not one child referred to special ed, but there was an overrepresentation of children were referred on to gifted and talented programs. Now, that's because it does matter what words mean, and there's 3 parts to a word. What a word looks like, what a word sounds like, and what a word means. Now, the word tree, that's pretty easy. Right. It's a pretty easy one to know how to spell and how to say, and very easy to visualise. But tell me about is, that's not so hard. That's not so hard to know how to spell. It's not hard to know how to read it, probably, or pronounce it. But what does is actually mean?
The concept of the word.
Or what does it mean? And if it matters what table means or tree means, it certainly matters what the means.
So the grandparent of the app, which you're developing now, has assisted hundreds of people, if possibly thousands of people, to improve globally, beyond their normal capacity.
Well, it's come from a program that's from developed for dyslexics. Right. Yeah.
I'm so terribly sorry, but I'm going to have to wrap this up. I'm very excited about what's happening here. Please stay in touch with the Channel 9 newsroom.
Certainly will.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Right. After the break on 39 Dunedin News, researching our colonial past is tougher than it looks, and the weather, what's up, down and all around.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special, 0800 502 402.
Wake up time and another frantic day ahead for Haraway's Oat Singles. With 3 delicious flavours in each pack, they don't last long with this family. They're so convenient and tasty, and they're ready in seconds. Haraway's Oat Singles are the ideal breakfast or snack on the run for today's busy families. And there's a flavour to suit everyone. Beat the rush and make sure you get your favourite flavour. Haraway's Oat Singles. Try new Kiwi Favourites Caramel Variety Pack.
For 30 years, Southern Clams have harvested New Zealand littleneck clams in the coastal waters of Otago. Hand harvesting to order at the right place and time ensures perfection of every clam you eat. New Zealand littleneck clams, harvested for you by Southern Clams.
Yeah, we're heading down George Street, down B, tip of the hat to the people we meet on Southern Skies. In the world.
Active Furnishers Limited, home of quality service with superior product and an in-house design team who are always happy to advise and create an imaginative solution for you. Active Furnishers Limited, part of Dunedin's design history.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Hi, I'm Mike Kernahan, Chief Executive of the Cancer Society, Otago and Southern Division. On 28th of August, we celebrate 25 years of Daffodil Day. Daffodil Day helps us provide care, comfort and hope to people who have a cancer diagnosis and their families. It helps us run health promotion programs so there might be less cancer in the future, and it funds vital cancer research. So please give generously this Daffodil Day. Text HOPE to 469 to donate $3 or visit daffodilday.org.nz and help us make this Daffodil Day the biggest and best yet.
Pregnant? Need to talk? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Pregnancy counselling services are here to help. It's free, it's confidential. Call us now on 0800 773 462.
A lifestyler to me is a person maybe wanting to escape the hustle and bustle of a big city, wanting some animals, maybe able to grow their own veggies, have chickens, get their own hens. A lifestyle block can be your supermarket. Just a good way of living, and a lot of people enjoy that rather than being in a city. A very sustainable way to live.
Welcome back. International scholars are gathering locally to fill in the blanks around the history of colonisation. They're part of a symposium focused on colonial childhoods, and they're revealing just how tough heritage hunting can be.
A lot has been written about colonisation. One aspect remains shrouded in mystery, the perspective of colonial children. So 16 scholars from Canada, Australia and New Zealand are in Dunedin, discussing that angle and associated research.
We know bits and pieces, but not a lot's been written, I suppose, and not a lot has been put out in the public domain. So we know quite a lot about the lives of children and settler families, the settler families who came in the 19th century.
Morrison's organised the symposium and says it's fascinating to hear from top scholars and historians. One talk's focused on the collection of colonial children's toys housed at Te Papa, while another's highlighted the challenges associated with finding information. And Morrison aims to collate delegates' work into a book.
So that book hopefully will be will fill some of these gaps around the New Zealand, Australian and Canadian stories about children in colonial contexts.
The symposium's being held at the Hocken Library. Morrison says it follows on from similar ones staged over the decades. A keynote speaker from Canada says it's one of the best she's been to, with the opportunity to talk about researching colonial children's drawings and letters, the icing on the cake.
Kids' experiences, thoughts, documents they produced have historically not been thought of as important enough to keep in a library or archive. So we have to sort of look in unexpected places.
Morrison says a lot of known information about colonial children relates to education, but not much is known about the children of colonial immigrants, just one of the blanks in history he hopes to see filled. David DeLorean, 39, Dunedin News.
A $20,000 art restoration project has concluded with a gallery being established within St Paul's Cathedral. About 100 paintings, sketches and photographs of the church and its leaders are now available for public viewing, and it's all thanks to one local woman.
Stella Cullington surveys her work, having created this gallery inside the Octagon's St Paul's Cathedral. She began about 18 months ago with a small goal in mind.
Well, it started with about 4 oil paintings that we had, which had got into a terrible state with cracks and staining and flaking and bits coming off and dirt. And eventually we decided something must be done about it.
But with the restoration of those 4 paintings came the ambition to clean all the church artwork, about 100 pieces in total, telling the history of the church and its people.
Some of them were found in boxes in the boiler room. Only 34 of them were hung up here. The rest were scattered here.
It took a year to raise the almost $20,000 needed for the project. Most of the photographs have been photocopied and the originals given to the Hocken Library.
All the bishops that have been in the cathedral, the visits of some archbishops, the deans that have been here throughout that time, right up to the present.
Architectural sketches show the cathedral's development and rebuild. Dr. Cullington's also commissioned a stained glass window in the church, and she hopes visitors appreciate the art collection, which will be added to, space permitting.
I think it's part of the heritage of the city of Dunedin. Gives the people an idea of what lay behind the building of this place.
As of this week's official gallery opening, the works are on public display during church hours. A snapshot of local history and religion. Rosie Mannins, 39 Dunedin News.
And now, recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. More restrictions on freedom camping are being considered by city councillors, although some residents don't support the proposed changes. Vandals are damaging trees and other property at the Waiora Scout Camp, prompting staff to take action against the petty crime. And the historic fatal fire at Dunedin Seacliff Mental Hospital is inspiring a new musical production being staged locally. And now a look at what's happening in tomorrow's Otago Daily Times. Bruce Query.
Good evening, Craig.
Good evening.
Roadworks in North Dunedin have been halted after the discovery of some cobblestones believed to be more than 100 years old. Otago's Student Association is breaking away from the national student body. The Dunedin City Council, in the continuing issue over stormwater problems at Otago Peninsula, is looking at a possible bill of $1 million to fix up that situation.
Oh, goodness.
There's a special publication inside the ODT tomorrow celebrating the Dunedin Heritage Festival, which is on this weekend, and that marks, I believe, the 150th celebration for Dunedin since it became New Zealand's first city. And in sport, All Black hooker Kevin Mialamo says he's going to call it a day at the end of this World Cup.
It's going to be a very eventful year, Bruce. Thank you so very much indeed. Thank you. And on that note, let's have a look at the weather.
This local weather report proudly brought to you in association with Silberhorn Sportsville.
Starting with today's city view, taken of a building under construction beneath blue southern skies, mostly. And around the city today, it's 3 o'clock, Central City at 10, Gardens and the Tidy 11. Not a bad day. Looking at the situation, cooler southwesterlies and another anticyclone hover around the South Island, slowly moving away by Friday, replaced with mild northerlies. Some rough weather is expected by the weekend though, prepare. And to the forecast for the main towns in the lower South Island for tomorrow, Invercargill, Gore, Alexandra and Taonau, lovely, fine light winds, 12 degrees across the board. Queenstown, light winds, fine 12, Oamaru 13, a little bit of cloud. Wanaka, light winds, fine, and the same for Twizel. Winds are very light, fine and 13. Here in Dunedin tonight, a fine low of 6. Tomorrow, long, fine, sunny periods. High of 12 and a low of 6 on Thursday. Frost overnight, light winds, pleasant temperatures, and high of 13, a low of 6. And finally to the Southern Clams tidal and fishing information. Low tide at 6:57, high at 12:37. Fishing is fair, best at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's all from Channel 39 Dunedin News. I'm Craig Story. Thank you for your care and your attention. Good evening.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.